I had always been very interested in downtowns and downtown development and making sure that downtowns in small and mid-sized cities stayed vibrant. And when the school board announced that because the levies had passed, that they were going to be able to build new middle schools and that Central Middle School was going to be closed and then possibly torn down, I was really concerned about that because it would leave such a vast empty hole in our downtown that would be very difficult to replace.
When I looked around and visited other communities similar size to Findlay, and I'll pick on like the Tiffins, the Van Werts, and the Limas, and they all had a performing arts center, and we did not. That's for me was a signal that I wanted to be a part of making something that we didn't have into a rally for our community, and that's where my passion began from day one.
When we were conducting focus groups about the possibility of constructing what was to become the Marathon Center for Performing Arts, I got more involved in the discussions, and then I became a founding board member. There were 6 of us, if I can recall, and we sat around the table quite a bit and talked about how we were going to manage things moving forward.
This was an opportunity that we couldn't let slip through our fingers because once this was gone, it was gone. We weren't going to be able to bring it back.
So with that, then it became imperative that some decision was made about what Central should be. And a committee was formed, and I was part of that committee to help study and see if there was interest in Central Auditorium. And remarkably, there was, which was really nice. And so we started exploring the uses of the former Central Auditorium. And I think that the biggest opportunity for that came when I think it was Scott Mullaney, the president of Blanchard Valley Hospital, said at the time, "Let's quit fooling with the school. Let's get rid of the school and focus mostly on just the auditorium." And that really released us to do what you see here today. Allowed us to do the lobby and other parts, which allowed us to create a very nice world-class performing arts center. Whereas before we were struggling with this appendage of a school that we kept trying to find uses for. So that really opened it up for us.
The vision was for it to be a gem of our community. I look at it as a gathering space, a space that I hope has been perceived welcome to all in our community. So that was, again, in my own personal vision, what I had hoped for our center to become for our community.
I think the thing that we underestimated were the challenges and the costs that would be involved in taking an older building, attaching a newer building to it, and then trying to bring the whole thing forward. And we had several unpleasant surprises along the way that we weren't really obviously anticipating. We had to move some major electrical power lines that were going to be they ran right over the roof of where we are right now, and that was a no-no. So we had to pay the cost of getting those power lines moved, and that was very expensive. And then there were concerns, obviously, about the flooding because Middle School had flooded, and because this is somewhat below grade in places. There was a lot of concern about making sure that it was flood proof, if there is such a thing. And so a lot of time and expense and engineering went into making sure that there were backup systems and that the building could withstand a flooding event that would come through downtown because it would be devastating.
The only original part, we blew away everything from the proscenium back. So I'm standing on the line between old and new. So everything in the back is brand new. This is the old proscenium. The arches and everything are from the original theater, Central Auditorium that was built back in the 30s. Has a very high Art Deco style to it, a very unique style because of the country theme and the country colors that are here, which we brought back. We actually lowered the stage several feet. It was higher, so the visibility was not that good. So we lowered that. Again, all this was blown away, made larger, made taller. The stage and changing rooms in the back, all the bathrooms in the bottom, all were gutting and made. But the fact that the auditorium is original, seats are new, thank goodness. The old central seats were very, very small, put together with duct tape and were horrible, made for children, not made for adults. We reduced the number of seats. It was like 1,300, and now it's about 1,000 seats. We re-tiered the balcony to make it steeper and give you more visibility. Um, but I think the hall itself, the chandelier in the lobby came out of a theater out in New York. The four sconces that you see on the wall came out of a theater in New York. So there's some historical retrofitting going on with that. But I just think the ambiance, the feeling of the space, and as I mentioned, the acoustics are quite ideal for the size of hall we have.
Honestly, I was a little skeptical about renovating an old building, but when I saw that each person working on the committee, on the original committee, was dedicated to excellence and doing it right and watching plans develop and be altered, I just had great confidence that that this was the right thing to do.
When I first learned about the lighting requirements, the stage requirements, the sound requirements, those are special things in a construction project that you don't always have. So it was important for me to figure out what those things were and make sure we deliver on them, which kind of led to big challenges early on. I came into the project, introduced myself to the board, and said, guys, I think we have a project that is bigger than our current budget.
A challenge was the budget. We had heard about a budget number from the architect involved, and that all gave us pause, but we continued to work through it and to evaluate other potentially lower cost options. And we did this all throughout the course of the project. And I think we had donors come to our aid that were able to help us realize the vision that we see today.
You know, there were times that, depending upon where we were at in our fundraising efforts, we might have had made some difficult decisions that maybe we couldn't do something in our building that we really wanted to. So we either went that approach or we really dug down deep and said, this building has that need, let's go out and find the funds. And 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what happened.
I never really doubted it was going to happen. I just wasn't sure how soon it would happen, but I became much more convinced that it would happen far sooner than I might have expected earlier at the beginning.
I was driving up Corey Street and they were building this structure, and I saw the bricks coming up over the front of Central High School, or when Central Middle School at that time, and I was stopped at the light and I just thought, oh my goodness, this is really going to happen.
I think the reality for me was at the groundbreaking ceremony, honestly, when we were able to come together as founding board members and put that first shovel in the sand. That's when it really hit me that this is going to happen.
I just think we live in a wonderful community that when something needs to happen that's good, people rally.
I want this building to be here for generations. You know, when we built this building, I wanted it to be here for 100+ years, not just the next 20 or 30 years. And I look at Central Auditorium, and there's people in the community that wanted it to be alive again after Central Middle School was demolished. And we did that. So those people from that generation can come into this building, see this building in all its splendor, and they can remember when it was Central Auditorium. Well, the folks that are new, they can come in and see the center for what it is. And I hope their kids can come in and the younger generation today, when they have kids, say, oh, I danced on that stage when I was a kid.
After supporting the youth theater for I forget how many years, we did it again when it was partnered with the MCPA. And we had the program, and the program ended, and I had a mother send me a letter talking to me and thanking me for Marathon's contribution to the youth theater program. And she said that has sparked such an interest in her son and this comes back to present day, one of his minors in his college days was theater. And I have no doubt that he is going to continue his involvement on the stage for probably the rest of his life. And the youth theater, which was a part of the programming at MCPA, made that happen.
The very first performance, it was a Christmas show. So we were here. We had just opened the building. I was on the main floor, sitting on the main floor, and the show had started. It was probably 10 or 15 minutes into the show. An usher comes and taps me on the shoulder. I was sitting near the aisle, and says, "Hey, we've got a problem." And I said, "What do you mean we have a problem?" He said, "There's a toilet flushing in the main restroom and it won't stop." So I jump up, because I know we had just installed those toilets. So I jump up, we're downstairs, and in our suits, looking at a flush valve that was stuck open from initial installation. And we were making sure that it was fixed before intermission, because we didn't want the patrons to come down and see a broken toilet as their first impression. So that sticks in my head and will always stick in my head.
I'm very proud. After I say that, I'm humbly proud, because it was, certainly I didn't do anything substantial other than encourage. And, people who financed and people who led and people who put the efforts together and who have been managing this place have been the true heroes. And the various donors, the multiple donors who gave to this place were true heroes as well. So I'm very pleased that it succeeded. It was in some ways a pinnacle to my career. It was after spending 30 years here in Findlay as an architect, it was a nice project to say, okay, after 20 years or whatever number of years it was, we invested in it, both pro bono and time efforts. It was nice to see it come to reality. Very humbling night when it opened.
When I'm sitting here in a seat like I am right now at a performance, and it's a packed house, and I see everyone having a great time, whether it's laughter, whether it's tears, I'll sit there and look around, and actually I'll tear up, because I'm amazed, and I'm just so thankful for being able to play a very small role in making this a reality. And that's what makes me most proud.
We must offer something beyond just the basics of life, but the joy of life. And I think our center does just that.
Remember, when you are moved, when you come to a performance or go see a beautiful painting somewhere that touches you, that you need to be part of the support mechanism.
These gyms are out there. Obviously, I'm biased to the Marathon Center and will be. Don't forget about it. Use your money to support these centers, support the Marathon Center. It will be here for years to come. And if it's not you, it could be a friend, it could be a friend's child, it could be a grandchild. They will be impacted by this place. And it's a place of enjoyment. I mean, the whole reason you come here is to be entertained. And why would you not want to do that? And I highly encourage folks to continue to give. If you haven't given before, think about it. Be a donor.
I encourage folks to give generously and to give thoughtfully during this day of giving for the Performing Arts Center. It has made a tremendous difference in our community. It is so worthy of our support, not only today, but also far into the future.